Hello there, and welcome to this bonus episode of Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants. This episode, I'm going to talk about the free books that you should read as a HR consultant. See, I recently shared on this podcast that I'm an avid reader, and this got a few responses. What do you read? What would you recommend? What are the best books you've ever read? So I figured, why not pull together a podcast and share that information with everyone, rather than going back to people piecemeal? So without further ado, that's what this episode's all about, the free books that I reckon that you should read. Firstly, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I've spoken about this before multiple times, but in case you've missed it, let me talk about it one more time. This is a book which will help you be more productive, more successful, and feel more successful. It's effectively a morning routine, but it's one which sets you up for the day and encompasses the best lessons from the highest achievers around the world. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, which I found a bit stale and repetitive, then you'll notice some similarities. This doesn't mean that you don't need to read Miracle Morning. Miracle Morning is better, it's more up to date, and Miracle Morning builds on what's discussed in Think and Grow Rich and makes it easily applicable, and then it supports you to apply it too. Anyway, the main message of the book, the main lesson for me was starting your day off right is the first step to having a great day and a great life. The next book that I recommend is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I'm not sure where to start with this book because it's such an excellent read. It's a chunkier book than the previous one, but the lessons you can take away from this book are incredible. And the stories, examples, diagrams that bring the lessons to life are amazing. They're so effective. This is a book I've read twice, written and drawn notes all over, and will certainly read again and again. And the main message I took away from 7 Habits was compassion, looking at things from the other person's perspective. See, a lot of the lessons were about being a leader and looking out for your fellow human, and this brings itself around to helping you in the long term. Accordingly, I think the most important lesson I took away from this book was win, 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 which means focusing on making sure that everyone gets a great result in whatever relationship you're involved in. The third book that I recommend is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is a modern classic and will be read and reread by people for years to come, I'm sure. You've probably heard of it, but if not, as the name suggests, this book is all about habits, and it's a great look about how habits form and how you can use that knowledge to build your own habits. Equally, the book then shares how to break habits too, if that's interesting for you. Speaking of which, if you want to quit smoking or know someone who wants to quit, then check out Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. It works. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. But anyway, back to James Clear. There are stories, examples, and diagrams to bring the lessons to life, just like with the other books. And it's very applicable too, just like the other books. The main message I got from Atomic Habits was that change isn't overnight, and you got to keep working away to get the result you want. And I think the most important lesson I took away from the book was you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, which basically means you have to make it easy for yourself to change. Now, as a Brucey bonus, I wanted to recommend another book, The Courage to Be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Hopefully I've got those pronunciations right. But anyway, this book, The Courage to Be Disliked, is based on the teachings of Alfred Adler, who seems to be quite the forgotten man in the psychology world. Which seems strange, as Adler was one of the 3 giants of 19th century psychology, alongside Freud and Jung, who you've probably heard of. Adler, he believed in the power of self, and it is a very compelling lesson. Let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Firstly, a quick note that this book isn't perfect. The book is written from the perspective of a youth talking to a philosopher, and that setup can be distracting at times. Indeed, this book took me a while to finish, especially compared with the other 3 books that I've recommended. But don't take that as an excuse not to read it. This book is excellent. It's very logic-driven, and whether or not you agree with the theories, you'll certainly have something to talk about, think about, and discuss with peers. there are various things that you can take away and consider and apply to your life or not. But for me, the main takeaway would be that I control everything in my life. I control my happiness. I control my beliefs, my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions. So if I want to do something, then I can do it. And if I want to feel something, then I can feel it. And if I want to believe something, then I can believe it, etc., etc., etc. Conversely, if I don't want to, etc., 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 then I don't have to. Effectively, I have supreme control over everything in my life, and so do you. Now, a quick disclaimer before you say, yeah, but what about? Please don't. I'm honestly not an expert in this book or in Adler's thinking. All I did was read the book and enjoy it, and I'm suggesting that you do the same. Whether you want to accept the teachings is up to you. For me, there were some teachings that I really took to heart, and some I couldn't quite get on board with. So yeah, those are the 3+1 best books I've ever read and would highly recommend you read too. Now, if you have any books to recommend to me that I've overlooked or you think would be beneficial, then send me a message on LinkedIn and share those books with me. I'm always happy to have new books recommended and brought to my attention. But that's it for now. Until next time, hopefully you've enjoyed this show. If so, please consider leaving a review and subscribing. Bye for now.